Hi, I'm David Beasley with Global Atlanta. I'm here with Jim Beach. Jim has quite a few titles. We'll talk about a few of them. He is founder of the Entrepreneur School. He is a management professor at the University of Tennessee, and he is a consultant on exports to UPS. Hi, Jim.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Jim, I was astounded when I saw a recent UPS survey of small to medium businesses that said 73% of them do not export.
That's right.
Could you talk a little bit about why that is, why they do not export?
Sure. Well, UPS has just conducted a very interesting survey of small and medium-sized businesses. One of the most profound things that came out of the survey was the incredible optimism of the small and medium businesses. But also we learned that most businesses are not currently involved in exporting. And as you said, it's 73%. Small businesses start small. They start in their basement, they start in someone's garage or something like that, trying to serve a local market. And at the very beginning, sending things to Spain or to Portugal or something like that to the South American market scares them and they're not prepared for it. Almost always, international exports happen serendipitously, almost at random. They'll be selling a product maybe over the internet or through trade shows here in America, and one day they'll get a call from someone in Belize and they'll say, "We saw your product, we'd love to get some of that." And the company will be like, "Oh, we had never even thought of selling." And they'll learn gradually how to become exporters. So the first shipment is almost done, with the help of the importer, the company that they're selling to. And they learn slowly over time how to do the process. And eventually they will do things like hire someone who's got expertise in that, get a full-time contract with UPS or another shipping company, and gain the skills necessary to actually promote their product overseas. So in the beginning, it's not surprising that companies don't export. They're not built that way. And so it takes them some time to gain those skills.
Is there almost like a mental block or an intimidation involved? In other words, is there a fear that they really don't know how to export?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. Companies are, not skilled in that area. They don't know the customs procedures. They don't know how to market in a foreign place. And so they simply don't export because of their inertia. It's simply difficult for them and they don't know how to get started. So one of the things that UPS and many other organizations around the United States do is try to teach people how easy it is to export. It's really not that hard. There are lots of people out there that are willing to help you and show you the ropes, so to speak. And so they have to overcome that initial fear and figure out the first step, the second step, what to do.
Could you talk a little bit about your experiences in the classroom of actually creating an export company and how you and your students actually have accomplished that?
Sure. As you said with your previous question, fear is probably the number one emotion that people have when it comes to starting a business. Entrepreneurship is supposed to be about risk, and no one wants to take risk. And the older you get, the more difficult it becomes to take risks. You have a mortgage and children in school and health payments that you need to make, and you need to maintain your health insurance. And so starting a business on your own can be really scary. So one of the things we try to do is to show the students that this can be done. It can be done quickly, and it can also be done for very, very little risk. Risk comes down to how much money you spend. And if you're willing to start a small business, a home-based business that doesn't require a lot of money, you can do it with almost no risk. So in the classroom, what we've done is started businesses. We actually start a business. And during the first couple of weeks, I'll go in and basically make a bet with the students that I can start a business this semester and make money by the end of the semester. And I'll even let you choose the industry and the country that I start the business in. And so we'll go in and right at the beginning of the semester when we're studying things like creativity, we'll do a brainstorming session on what type of business we should start. And we've had a couple of them that you can still go on the internet and look at. For example, one was a furniture company that we started out of Pakistan. That company was successful and imported chairs into the United States market. And the website is still selling chairs today, almost 7 years later. It would be timelesschair.com. We also did it with leather in Argentina, purses and handbags, jackets, things like that. And then we did another semester very, very high-end fashion designs from a well-known Buenos Aires leather designer. And the exciting thing about that is that every week we can go in and say, look what we did this week. In the last week, here are the steps that we took to start this business. We actually found a supplier this week. We actually found a design this week for our products. This week we're actually shipping. And so in addition to saying, here's what we did last week, we can also teach them how to become a shipper. How do you hire a container load? What if you don't have a full container? We can teach them the answers to those questions. And then we move into marketing. How are we going to market this product? How are we going to sell it so that we can make money by the end of the semester so I don't lose my bet? And then finally, now that we have a business up and running, how do we promote it? How do we push it on to the next stage and actually produce something that you can live off of?
How often have you lost your bet?
Never lost.
Never lost.
Never lost.
You mentioned earlier the U.S. Commerce Department is very helpful for exporters and importers.
Yes, that would be my first bit of advice. They have a service called the U.S. Gold Key service. I personally think it's the best part of the entire federal government. For a very minimal charge, $400, $500, maybe as much as $800 depending on the country, they will introduce you to everyone in that industry in that country. So I was just visiting the office in Egypt last summer, for example. They will introduce you to 30 or 40 manufacturers, importers, exporters in a particular industry. And I don't mean just introduce like, here's their telephone number. They'll actually take you to their offices and help you with language issues, translating issues, so that you can go into the Egyptian market, contact the U.S. Gold Key Service, and it's very simple. It's just on the Department of Commerce, doc.gov website. They'll introduce you to everyone you need to know in a marketplace. It's a great way of having an English-speaking, locally based friend.
What are the hot countries and the hot fields and the hot products that you see in the next 5-10 years?
Well, the hot countries are certainly the BRIC countries, the BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Almost everything now is involving those markets. They're all huge markets. Brazil with just under 300 million, Russia with 150 million, India with 1 billion, and China with 1.3 billion. We're seeing those as the first places that you should really try to import or export. Or you could go and reduce your cost by doing business there, right? So many web developers now are medical, x-ray reading offices, all of these transcription services are moving to India. As you know, the call centers are a big part of the Indian market. And so those are the first places that we're seeing people move into those markets. And those are all great markets. They're all growing very fast, sometimes 7 to 10%. The consumer base there is growing very rapidly. India has 300 million middle-class consumers now, probably 400 million middle-class consumers in China. So those are huge markets that are as big as or bigger than the United States. In terms of hot products, of course, green is huge right now, anything that's environmentally interesting. So I'm working with a company right now that's taking the very boring industry of janitorial services and going green with that. So they'll come into an office park and say, not only will we clean your offices and empty your trash cans at night, but we'll also use only green, environmentally safe products. And so the toilets will be cleaned with some sort of product that's environmentally safe. And that's a hot thing. So anything green, anything energy-based, alternative energy solutions. Finance, believe it or not, is strong right now. Even though the banks are doing so horribly, people still need financial products. And consumer goods. We're always going to need new toothpastes and exciting clothing and things like that. So even though the economy is in a very precarious state right now, there's still several growth areas.